Have you ever picked up your phone, not because it rang, not because you needed it, but simply because there was nothing happening? You unlock it, scroll for a few seconds, put it down, then almost without thinking, you pick it up again. It's become so automatic that most of us don't even notice we're doing it. We tell ourselves we're checking the weather, looking at the news, replying to a message, but often we're doing something much deeper. We're avoiding the discomfort of an undistracted mind. And I don't think this is about the lack of willpower. I think something far more subtle is happening. I think our brains are becoming addicted. What to our phones, but to distraction itself. Distraction used to have a purpose. If our ancestors heard a twig snap in the forest, paying attention could save their lives. The brain has evolved to notice movement, novelty, anything unexpected. That survival mechanism is still with us. The problem is the modern world has learnt how to exploit it. Every notification, every headline, every vibration, every endless scroll is competing for the same ancient wiring. The world has become exceptionally good at capturing our attention, but it has become very poor at giving back. Imagine owning a beautiful magnifying glass. When you hold it still, the sunlight focuses into one powerful beam, strong enough to create fire. But if your hand never stops shaking, the light scatters everywhere. It still exists, but it loses its power. Your attention works in exactly the same way. It's not that you've become less intelligent. Your focus has simply become fragmented, pulled in 100 different directions, never settling long enough to create anything meaningful. One of the greatest misunderstandings about distraction is that we think it's harmless. It's only 5 minutes. It's only one quick look. But distraction has a hidden cost. Every time your attention switches, your brain has to reset. It has to remember where it was, reconnect the thought, rebuild its concentration. It's rather like asking someone to read a novel while somebody interrupts them every 30 seconds. Eventually, they're no longer reading. They're just recovering from interruptions. I sometimes wonder whether we've confused stimulation with living. We've reached a point where silence feels empty, waiting feels irritating, doing one thing at a time feels strangely uncomfortable. So we fill every spare second. Music while we cook, videos while we eat, podcasts while we walk, messages while we watch TV. We rarely experience one thing anymore. We experience 5 things very poorly. Now, here's the irony. We've never had so much access to more information. Yet many people struggle to think deeply about anything. Not because they're incapable, but because deep thinking requires uninterrupted attention. And uninterrupted attention has become one of the rarest experiences in modern life. We've become collectors of information instead of processors of wisdom. Think about when your best ideas arrive, rarely in the middle of scrolling. They appear while driving, walking in silence, having a shower in silence, or gardening in silence, looking out of a train window. Those moments seem ordinary, but something extraordinary is happening. Your brain is no longer reacting, it's reflecting, and reflection is where insight lives. There's another consequence we rarely talk about. Constant distraction keeps us living on the surface. When we react instead of respond, consume instead of create, absorb instead of understand, It's like skimming a stone across a lake. You touch the surface hundreds of times, but never discover what's underneath. Modern life encourages us to skim. Growth requires us to dive in very deep. Perhaps that's why so many people feel mentally exhausted. Not because they've worked harder, but because they've switched attention thousands of times throughout the day. Every decision, every notification, every glance, every interruption, individually they're tiny, collectively they're exhausting. Imagine trying to carry a feather. That's easy. Now, imagine trying to carry 50,000 feathers. Eventually, even something light becomes heavy. The frightening part is, distraction begins to reshape our expectations. Reading a book for 30 minutes now feels difficult. Watching a 2-hour film without checking our phones feels unusual. Having one uninterrupted conversation can almost feel uncomfortable, not because we've lost the ability, but because our brains have adapted to constant novelty. The next thing, the next update, the next hit of stimulation. We've become conditioned to expect life to entertain us every few seconds. Real life doesn't work like that, and neither does meaningful growth. Technology isn't the villain here. In fact, it's one of the greatest tools humanity has ever created. I'm talking to you through technology. You're probably watching this video on technology. The issue isn't the device, it's whether we're using it or whether it's quietly using us. That's a very different question. Attention is one of the few resources that can never be replaced. Money can be earned again, possessions can be replaced. Time can never be recovered. And wherever your attention goes, your life quietly follows, because your attention becomes your habits become your days, and your days become your years, and eventually they become your life. Perhaps that's why protecting your attention has become one of the greatest acts of self-care. Not because the world is evil, but because the world is noisy. And noise has a remarkable ability to drown out one voice we need to hear, our own. So, maybe today, don't try to eliminate every distraction. That's probably impossible. Instead, notice them. Notice how often your hand reaches for your phone. Notice how uncomfortable stillness feels. Notice how quickly your mind searches for something new. Not to judge yourself, just to become aware, because awareness always comes before change. Imagine just spending 15 minutes each day doing one thing. No music, no phone, no notifications, just one task, completely present. At first, it will probably feel uncomfortable, then it will feel peaceful, and eventually it may become something you've been missing without even realizing it. The ability to give your full attention to one moment, to one thought, to one person, to one life. Perhaps the greatest luxury of the future won't be wealth or status or even time. Perhaps it will be the ability to focus, to think deeply, to listen completely, to be fully present in a world that's constantly asking us to look somewhere else. Because in the end, your brain was never designed to live in permanent distraction. It was designed to notice the world, understand it, and occasionally simply sit in the silence long enough to hear itself think. And in closing, If this conversation resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How often do you catch yourself reaching for your phone without even thinking? Share your experience in the comments. And if you're enjoying this exploration into the psychology of modern life, I'd love for you to subscribe. Next time we'll be looking at the question that may be even more revealing: why you can't sit alone with your thoughts. Because perhaps distraction isn't the problem at all. Perhaps it's what distraction is helping us to avoid.